Okay.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you very much, Karen. That's great. Okie doke. So now we'll go back to Zeta, please. And you've got 2 submissions, 5 minutes each.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's the first time for me being here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Don't panic.
Normally it was my husband, and you might have met him many times, Bob Pringle, but he's no longer with us, so I'm being left to carry the mantle. So I'm coming on behalf of the coalition, which still exists, for safe accommodation in Christchurch. I'm representing 14 backpackers, 9 holiday parks, and 180 accommodation providers who are not members of Hospitality NZ. And that's their choice, but we represent all of them. The reason for me being here today is to support the council basically in what they've done in looking at targeting rates and making it commercial accommodation. We've been a long time provider of that fact, and Bob was quite adamant and quite succinct about how to let you know that. And so we'd just like to support the council. We're keen to support them in any way we can, whether it be by we become visible more by giving our accommodation providers we know who are not operating within the rules. You'll notice that also Auckland now are presenting the same thing to their ratepayers. They're now going to say that up 28 days they continue as residents, 29 days to 138 days. Now it's 75% resident, 25 business. This is their proposal. 50% if you're 136 days to 188, 50% rental, 50% business, and over 180 days it is now commercial accommodation. I just would like to also acknowledge a gentleman who we've worked with, which is Tony Bryan from Lincoln University. He's done a lot of work in this space, and he's a very good advisor to us on more than one occasion. The problem is that he sees with short-term accommodation is that it's been a hands-off approach because of private property, but now that private property is being used for commercial gain. And when a commercial gain, it needs to be treated as a commercial enterprise. So therefore, if you're receiving money for a service, being in this case the service is taking accommodation, then you need to abide by the rules of taking guests. You are now not doing it for love, kindness. You like being with people. There is a money transaction. It should be deemed as commercial. If you're house swapping, that's completely different to accepting money on a commercial basis. If many people don't return because of the cost, we're going to help the council and help our community by allowing other people who were looking to rent to look at long-term rentals. And we would hope that would be the situation to help many people who are struggling to find a home in particular areas because of the zoning of schools. So that will be what could be one of the after effects. Queenstown also has its rules. We're never quite sure how many people are. They have a register, and it is on a self-reporting basis, but it is for only 90 days. So if you want to do short-term accommodation in Queenstown, there is bylaws that set and say you have to be registered and get your certificate from them through the planning to do that. We'd like to commend the council so much for what they're doing, and would also like to support them. That's what our big thing is. The rationale is pretty simple. Our only concern is that some of the platforms that provide this short-term accommodation have got bigger purses and ability to access money to try and challenge the council on their implementation of their rules. That is the biggest fear we have. We've already been through the situation when we did the last lot, and the purse of that particular platform, they will go as hard as they can. Now, the situation ahead of us is, are they going to go after all councils who are doing the same thing? Our preference would be if, I'm putting another hat on here, if the council could continue to pursue at their local authorities to persuade the government to make the legislation, so therefore you as the council can implement the rules which are national, rather than Christchurch Council having rules, Auckland having their own rules, Rotorua having their own, and Queenstown. I know those are the councils I know that are doing it. So if I would like to ask the council if they could please look at persuading the government of today to look at making legislation which will make your life easier and make people aware of what the situation is if they want to go into short-term rental. That's just asking a little bit much, but if I don't ask, I don't get. And that's at the end of the day, if you don't ask and don't come in to support people. There are other things in the plan that we've looked at, but I think that's all self-explanatory. In many ways, all we're here to do is support you for making the decision and support you for the courage to do it. Someone had the courage to stand up and say, hey, I'm wearing a different hat. Begun to be noticed. I'm going to cause conflict, and conflict's got to be resolved.
Okay, thank you,
There's
Zeta.
not going to be a winner. There's not going to be a loser.
Do you want to move on to your second one?
Yeah, I'm just doing it now, and then I'll be leaving with you.
Oh, no.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet because both are the same. Thank you.
5 minutes, Karen.
Short-term operators decide whether to increase the cost of business. If it becomes too expensive, at the moment, short-term rentalers has to add GST onto their costs because of the change in the government rules that came in on the 1st of April. They may decide to go back to long-term rental, and we would commend them if they did that, because everyone in the community could do a lot with a lot of accommodation. And also the people who are who live next door to short-term rental, many of them do not cause any problems, but there are a number who do have problems with number of cars, number of noise, number of rubbish. And so we would like to commend the council again to look after commercial. We pay commercial, and we also abide by the rules of commercial and fire, safety and audits. So I'd just like to leave it there. I've come to do my bit. If you've got any questions, I'll be happy to chat to you.
Absolutely. Any questions? Aaron, please.
So as far as I'm aware, Queenstown Lakes District has a short-term accommodation rate. So if you buy a property there and it's going to be its intended use, you just register for that, and that's the rate you pay.
No, you have to go through planning. I'm doing it myself. Yes, you have to get a resource consent.
Yes, yeah. So when
you got a resource consent, that's fine.
Yeah, some of the bulk units they've done, which are for that purpose, that's consented as that, and then people just sign up and they're away. Yeah,
I presume so, but I know that we've tried to do it through our own property, and you have to get a resource consent.
Right, for an individual property or for
yep.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I agree. Make it simple. Make it, but that's why I'm pursuing the next phase to cover all the individual bylaws which happen and allow people to challenge them, and then stop you having to do all this extra work and extra cost for administering a rule. If everyone knows the rules, well, then the rules become simple. We now know to add GST to all platforms. It's taken a long time, but it's going to generate income for everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your effort. Thank you.
I appreciate it, and we can get you a wee bit back on track.
See you.
Thank you.
Paul, please.